Hmm.
Okay.
Well, Peter's still hugging my screen.
It's okay. He's a coastie. It's all right.
Yeah. Special Coast Guard powers.
We may need to be rescued.
They'll just walk out. They'll just walk out in the water and pick you up.
Oh,
Did
we're
someone
really
say
filling up now.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Chief Wooten. Hi, Stacy.
Is Chief Wooten's here? That's fantastic. Director Bailey.
Oh, I missed her. Rob Romeo, sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
Whenever you're ready, Gabe. Who's doing the minutes today?
I'll be doing the minutes.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
We've got 1 minute.
Hmm.
Let me know when to go.
Will do.
Thank you. Yeah, refereed the South Albany game Friday night. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's great. Boy, they sure have been advertising that they're short of referees, so I hope you guys
We
hope
are.
you can
We
find
really
some,
are.
yeah.
There's Counselor Novak.
Hi, Matilda.
Hello. Hi.
Okay,
Hit
we're
continue.
ready to go.
Good evening. Thank you for coming to Albany City Council meeting on 10 March of 2021. We're going to have a nice meeting tonight. Got a lot of things to cover. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and do the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Counselor Dick Olson,
Here.
Counselor Matilda Novak,
Here.
Counselor Stacy Bartholomew,
Here.
Counselor Ray Kopczynski,
Here.
Counselor Bessie Johnson,
Here.
Counselor Marilyn Smith.
Here.
Well, thank you very much for the roll call. I appreciate that. I'm going to go to my agenda. Marilyn's picture just showed up on my whole screen here. So business from the public. I have a short script to read, and I'll get that done now. Business from the public is for persons wishing to address the council on matters not on the agenda. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes unless extended by the mayor. Councilors should hold their comments until business from the council. All written material has been forwarded to the councilors and entered in a public record. Instructions for getting copies of the public record is on the city website under business from the public. The following persons have submitted items for the record: James Cahill, Albany, Oregon, regarding Hazelwood Park and homelessness. And the following persons have signed up to speak: Casey Harvey from Albany and Nicole Shukow from Albany. So is Casey Harvey here today? If you are, please identify yourself and tell us why you're here to speak, and we'll start the timer.
I don't actually see Casey. If you are on, please use the raise hand feature to identify yourself, but I'm not seeing anybody with that name on. I do see Nicole on.
Okay, well, Nicole, you ready to go?
Yes, I can go.
Well, thank you. How do you pronounce your name? I don't want to mess it up.
Shuko, like
like a shoe company.
Okay, Shukal, thank you very much for that. Welcome to the meeting. So
You
please.
guys, thank you.
tell us
Can
what
you
you're
guys
here to
hear
tell
me
us about.
okay?
Yes.
Sure can.
Okay. Mr. Mayor and honorable members of the council, my name is Nicole Shuko. I live at 2110 17th Avenue Southwest here in the wonderful city of Albany. I'm here today from my beautiful backyard to inform you about the history of our neighborhood here near Hazelwood Park. 2.5 years ago, when my husband and I first bought our home to raise our growing family in, right away after moving in, we were welcomed with warning. We quickly learned that this area had been struggling for quite some time with multiple incidences. We were told horror stories of the old farmhouse that was filled with squatters and drug use, along with the
Uh-oh. Pause, sir, please. Ms. Shukal, you've frozen. If you can log out and log back in, it'd be great.
Yeah, I think we've not just frozen. I think,
She locked up completely.
yeah.
Has Casey Harvey made it back to the meeting? Or is she actually coming back? She's coming back in now. Are you there,
Okay.
Ms. Shukal?
Oh, there we go.
There we
I
go.
lost you guys.
You froze on us. It's okay, it's Zoom. So go ahead and resume, please.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, it happens.
Okay, where did you guys lose me at?
The
History.
warnings. I think it was warnings.
Yeah. Okay, welcomed with warning. We quickly learned that this area had been struggling for quite some time with multiple incidences. We were told horror stories of the old farmhouse filled with squatters and drug use, along with the triplex next door and the constant misconduct. We learned that across the street, they could not let their kids play in the front yard due to the unknown state of people walking by. It was not long before we saw this for ourselves. The squatters rummaging through garbage, the cops knocking on the doors of the triplex, and a sight of tossed garbage and used needles in our street. We also had, about 4 weeks after we moved in, we had to call the fire department because the farmhouse was constantly burning garbage and we had clouds of smoke that would fill the neighborhood and our home. Now I'm gonna fast forward 7 years. The farmhouse has been restored. There's new owners. We have tons of new neighbors, lots of children playing in the street. It's growing and it's gaining momentum. But February 25th, just 2 weeks ago, I received a frantic phone call from my neighbor saying, "Get your kids in the basement now." Outside of our home, there were multiple officers running around the triplex, not with pistols, but with large rifles drawn and ready to fire. A young tenant got into an argument with her boyfriend. He pulled a gun on her. As the police arrived, he ran out the back gate into the park, right where my kids were just playing. He tossed the gun into the bushes and he ran. Now imagine how, as a mother of 4, I felt knowing that 1, my kids are hiding in fear in our basement, and 2, this delinquent with a gun could have just ran past my kids or tossed the gun near them.
It's frozen again.
I'm tired of warning each other about what's going on. We need to be a part of the Hazelwood Park conversation. Our voices need to be heard by each and every one of you, by the city council, by you, Mayor Alex Johnson, Peter, our city manager, Kim, the director of Parks and Recreation, and all of the planning committee. We need our voices to be heard by you and have you ask.
I'd like her to finish her thought.
Yeah.
Ms. Shukal, go ahead and finish your thought.
Was that the 3-minute time limit?
No, she has to finish. I would like her
Did
to
it
finish
cut
her
out
thought.
on you guys?
Yes, it did. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Can I send it all? Can I send my speech to you guys
Please do.
since it's cutting out? Okay, thank you.
So go ahead and finish your thought. You were on when it froze, please.
Okay. So the main point is I was just trying to say that this is just one of our stories in our neighborhood. We're all tired of calling the police. We're tired of warning each other, and we're tired of seeing what else is going to come into this neighborhood. As a young, growing community here, we need our voices to be heard by all of you, each and every one of you, so we can continue to keep our children safe.
Thank you very much for your patience, one, and dealing with this technology. But yeah, please send your information to the city. We'd greatly appreciate that. Okay. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Is Casey here yet?
Don't see the name in the
Okay.
list.
So the next agenda item is the first reading of ordinance and amending AMC Owners Municipal Code Chapter 7.84-190 requirements for shopping cart providers and 7.84.200 retrieval and disposal of carts fees by Officer Christian Dell. Christian Dell, you have the floor. Is he here? I saw him earlier.
I'm here. I think, doesn't Attorney Kidd usually read these?
Yeah, I read them. Didn't know if you were gonna, think they might have thought you might have said something with it, but is there anything to add from Monday night, Chris?
No, given the notes that nothing was needed to be changed, I didn't add or take away anything. Just here in case you had more questions.
Okay. If there's not any questions, oh, go ahead.
Please go ahead and read it. Do you have any
Sorry.
counselors have questions? Counselor
I do. I'm sorry.
Johnson?
Yes, I just wondering, and this might be a trivial thing, but we understand that the names to be put on the carts and stuff, but what happens with the unhoused that push the grocery carts around? Are they going to be confiscated, or what are we going to do with that?
That kind of depends on the cart. I know we have, I can't remember her name, but there's one individual that did buy a lot of carts and loans them to some of our transients for their personal use. So, but if a facility wanted to press charges or receive their property back, that would be up to them. So it's really up to the owner of the cart what they would like for there to happen with their cart if somebody took it off their lot. So if they want their property back, yes, we would take it from the individual.
Counselor Cup, thank you very much, Officer Shindell. Counselor Kopczynski, you have a question?
I was checking. I thought I noticed a typo in the revision, but I just checked it very, very closely and enlarged the print, and there is a period there where I thought there was not one, so it's all good.
All right, thank you so much. Any other counselors? Oh, Counselor Olson, I see your hand.
Yeah, has there been any response from the owners of the carts, the businesses that lose their carts various ways? Have they had any suggestions or complaints about the ordinance?
No, I have not heard any. And really the ordinance still is in effect. Really, we're just taking out the sections that are kind of cumbersome for the city and the locations that own these carts. As I talked about on Monday, some of these companies have to change company. Some companies who own carts have to change cart retrieval companies quite often because the companies retrieving the carts don't see the benefit of doing so. So it became quite cumbersome for the cart owners to keep up-to-date placards on their carts. Other than that, the only feedback I've had was from our community service officers who have been working with the stores. And oftentimes they say, at least from the conversations I've got between the CSOs and the stores, kind of what are they supposed to do about it? They'll get to it when they get to it, those kind of conversations. There has been a few that have been, that have said, oh yeah, we go out every 2 weeks or every couple days whenever we could get out and look for them. And we actually did with those stores that had those comments, we hadn't found any of their carts to be in violation. So those are the different comments we got from other stores.
Okay.
I do have one request. If you're going to speak for the city on behalf of, for the city, could you please turn your cameras on when you're speaking? I greatly appreciate that. The public needs to see who's speaking. Thank you. Thank you, Officer Janelle. Any other comments from the council? Any other questions? So can we have the first reading of an ordinance by the city attorney?
Okay. An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, AMC, Chapter 7.84.190, requirements for shopping cart providers, and 7.84.200, retrieval and disposal of carts fees.
Move that the ordinance be read in a second time in title only.
Second.
There's a second? Oops, there's a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Sounds like we have a 6-0 vote.
Okay, I'll read it again. An ordinance amending. Well,
Say again?
I will add some feedback there. I'm going to start over. An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, AMC, Chapter 7.84.190, requirements for shopping cart providers, and 7.84.200, retrieval and disposal of carts and fees.
Move for adoption.
All in favor, say aye.
Second.
Aye.
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 Excuse me, I should have second. Hold for a second. I'm
We
sorry.
didn't have a second.
There was a second.
Who seconded that
Yes,
motion?
I
Excuse
seconded
me? Okay, so Marilyn made the motion.
Council
Thank you.
Johnson seconded the motion.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So number 5 on the agenda is adoption of resolutions applying for assistance to firefighter grants for CPR devices, like Chief Wooten. And B would be applying for 2020 Safer grant for hiring firefighters with Chief Wooten. So I was going to go ahead and take care of those two now, Chief Wooten. What do you want them at a time?
I'd like to see them one at a time. I got some questions on the Safer grant.
Okay, well, I think that's a good idea. So Councilor Olson recommends one at a time. So Chief Wooten, can you speak to the first one?
Absolutely. So the first one is the Assistance to Firefighter Grant, also known as AFG. We're requesting authorization to apply for the grant to purchase 7 Zoll Auto Pulse hands-free CPR devices. These devices encircle an individual's chest and then squeezes, thereby providing a compression. So rather than doing manual compressions, the machine does it. If awarded the grant, we would use the city's match is 10%, so $10,000, and we have that money in equipment replacement that we would use to cover that. So do you have any questions on that piece of the grant or that specific grant?
Councilor Olson, you have a question?
I do. Does the machine automatically adjust for the size of the person?
Yes, it does. It adjusts for the size of the person. We're able to set the rate. And it actually has the stiff backboard that goes underneath the patient, and then an elastic strap that goes over their chest, and then that squeezes down. And we're able to set the depth of compression as well as the rate.
And this has been tried out on various size people and been pretty successful, I would guess.
Yeah, and kind of little side note, I've been in this field long enough where I've seen, when I first got started, these devices were, we actually had one, it was called the Thumper. And then the technology wasn't the best, and the standard of care was such that we no longer used them. But now, again, I've been in it long enough that it's back, newer technology, and is much more efficient and is moving towards becoming the standard of care.
Well, I'm thinking I'd rather have a person that knew what they were doing rather than a machine working on me, but I'm sure this is great.
When you do CPR on someone, it's exhausting. Getting the proper depth of compression and doing 100 compressions a minute, that you're continually having to cycle people through, as well as when you move patients, you have to stop CPR while you move them. But with this device, it's able to continue to go.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the council or any comments from the council? Looks like there's none.
I would move for the adoption of the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is it all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passed. Thank you, Chief. We'll go ahead into the segue into the next one. Chief, we'll go ahead and talk about that one. It is the applying for a 2020 SAFER grant and for hiring firefighters.
Thank you, Mayor. The second grant we are requesting to apply for is the SAFER grant, as been mentioned. This is a federal grant used to hire firefighters. We have received this grant 2 other previous times. Due to COVID-19, the grant rules changed last year. Will cover 100% of the firefighter's wage and benefits for the 3-year period of the grant. While you don't need to keep the positions indefinitely, you do have to refrain from laying off firefighters for the 3 years of the grant, or you must request a variance from FEMA. We are applying for 3 additional firefighters to be used to increase staffing at Station 14, while at the same time, those positions will help to reduce overtime since we will add the positions but not increase our minimum staffing. Now, admittedly, a lot within our department may change as it relates to staffing over the next few months. But for us to apply for the grant, we had to use our current department information and staffing numbers because the grant application is due in 2 days. If we are awarded the grant, we will need to go back to FEMA. Well, I'll need to come back to you to accept the money. And if there's been changes in the department as regards to staffing or projected changes, we would need to reach out to FEMA to find out if we're still eligible to accept the money. So you'll have another say on whether or not you want us to accept those funds. It's our hope that by then we will know more about the results of the biennial budget process because FEMA doesn't start awarding the funds until late spring, early fall. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Council, do you have any questions? Councilor Olson, I see you have a question.
Yeah, are these, if we do get the grant, and are we presently operating with firefighters that are on the same kind or similar grant?
Those firefighters are off the grant. That grant ended in 2019, the one that you're speaking of.
Oh, okay.
So are all those firefighters still with the department?
At this point, they're still, well, yes and no. For 3, yes, but then when we merged with Millersburg, there was some shuffling of people and Millersburg essentially kind of helped pick up some of the cost of those firefighters. And then if you remember from the last budget process, we did have to reduce the number of firefighters we had by 3. So it's kind of interesting. This might be more detailed than you want, but when we apply for the grant, we have to say how many FTE we have that are first responders. Okay. And you have to, during that 3-year period, you have to maintain that number or request the variance from FEMA. So during the last SAFER grant period, there was lots of moving pieces where Millersburg contracted with us. So we hired additional people on top of that. But then in turn, we had to reduce by 3 in the last biennial process, but we still ended up at the end of the grant with more firefighters with more firefighters than when we first applied for the grant. So we met the requirements of the grant.
All right, thank you, Fire Chief. Councilors, are we satisfied with what we heard today? Looks like we are.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the fire department to apply for the funds not to exceed as written in the memo.
Councilor Olson had a question. Councilor Olson had a question before he started. So
Sorry.
I'm sorry about that, Councilor Olson.
So I would like to, I'm sure you've talked with our city manager about our overall budget situation. And I think our policy is that suffering is going to be spread pretty much equally among the departments of the city. And can the city manager say that you're going to be suffering as much as the rest of the city if there's going to be suffering? Maybe Peter can enlighten us on what his thinking is on the
Sure.
the
Well, the first thing
situation.
I'd like to point out, Councilor Olson, is that Chief Wooten and the fire department are asking for permission to ask for the grant. And as Chief Wooten
Yes.
pointed out, receipt of the grant isn't a guarantee.
That's
In
right.
fact, he tells me that it's, we don't have, it's probably, what do you say, about 50-50, maybe even less than that. So there's no guarantee that we'll get that. When we
Yeah.
do get it, you'll recall that he mentioned that we would have to go back to DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, that is, and talk to them if we had to reduce the numbers in our firefighting team. So, but with respect to your overall question about sharing the pain, as you called it, yes, each of the department directors is dealing with reductions in their budget right now, and they are approximately equal in percentage. We've done a few prioritizations here and there, and as the budget season rolls on and new factors come into play with the budget, we'll probably have to make a few more prioritizations. But the overall philosophy that, yes, we have to reduce across the board. And the city is very, as you'll recall, very interconnected in its services that it provides. So each of the department directors will be dealing with about the same percentage of cut. It won't be exact, but it's about the same.
Thank you,
Okay.
City Manager. Thank you, Coach Olson.
Yeah.
Anything else,
Well,
Councilor Olson?
I certainly am an advocate of keeping our fire department as fully staffed as possible. Take a look at me, you can tell that I may need the fire department any day. But so
Your words.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we had a
Yeah,
motion.
thank you, Peter and Chief.
Thank you very much, Chief, City Manager Peter. We had a motion, and who seconded it? So,
Counselor Note.
Councilor Novak.
I did.
Um,
Counselor Novak.
Thank you very much, Councilor Novak. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passed.
Very good.
Next one is the grant for hiring. We got that one done. Next one is accepting, let me go back to the agenda. Accepting a COAR core grant for weather improvements to the Albany Municipal Airport. Rob Romeo, are you gonna take that one, please?
Yeah, good evening, councilors. Mayor Johnson. I'm Rob Romeo. I'm the City of Albany Transportation Manager, and I'm here this evening to ask for your approval to accept the core grant for the funding of an AWAS at the Albany Municipal Airport. For those watching who don't know what an AWAS is an automated weather observing system. It's fully configurable weather system that provides continuous real-time information and reports on airport weather conditions. An AWAS is an important tool for pilot safety and will measure barometric pressure, wind speed, direction, temperature, dew point visibility, and other parameters. Installation of an AWAS is identified in the 2016 Airport Master Plan and will enhance the capacity of the safety of the operations at the airport. The FAA will cover the grant at 90%, leaving the City of Albany with a 10% local match. The total project cost of the AWAS is $394,444. The FAA pays 90%, which leaves our local match of 10%, which is $39,444. The core grant we're discussing right now covers 90% of that 10%, leaving us, the City of Albany, to pay 1% of this project, which ends up being $3,944. So heck of a deal for a weather system that I think really improves our airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilors have any comments or questions? I see
Yeah.
Councilor Johnson has a question.
Yeah, Rob, I'm just wondering, do we have an old AWAS or is it just totally different technology? I mean, this sounds like, this is great and I'm all for it, but I just wondered what we use now.
No, we don't have an AWAS system now, and this is kind of the just leading edge technology, which is pretty awesome for that price.
Yeah, I was gonna say for that price, you know, maybe we can get two.
Start with one.
So Counselor Olson, see his hand has a question.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Is there one of these at the Corvallis Airport?
Counselor Olson, I believe so, and they might even have an ASOS at Corvallis, which is even more sophisticated. But yes, I believe it's comparable. So yes.
Probably just as well to have more of them than fewer, I would guess. Does
Yep.
this have a pretty good range? Would it range to Salem?
Yeah.
Green?
We'll have to apply for an FCC license as well, and anybody can tune into that frequency and use it.
Okay, yeah, sounds like a real deal.
So
it is.
So I have a question for you, Transportation Manager Romeo. Is what's the implementation schedule for something like this? Is 6 months, year?
We're moving pretty fast. If we can get this approved and we start in getting bids April 6th, and I think we could be breaking ground this summer. So
great.
And I would hope we'd have it installed by the end of the year, but we'll just have to wait and see what, I hate to give you a definite answer that it's going to be in by the end of the year, but you just don't know what's going to come up with construction. So we're hoping relatively fast.
So good. Thank you very much for that. Any councilors, any other questions? Any other comments?
I would move
Don't
the
approve
adoption
the
of the resolution.
So
Second.
you got a motion and a second. Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 All right. It's like the motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too, thank you.
The next thing on the agenda is accepting ODOT funding for Salem Avenue Bridge improvements. And that's Stacy Castro.
Go for it, Stacy.
Sorry about that.
Okay, let's hear it, Stacy.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. So in this memo, staff is recommending that council accept by resolution local bridge program funding from the Oregon Department of Transportation to make improvements to the Salem Avenue Bridge over Cox Creek. The resolution is included as attachment 1 to the memo, and then the agreement with ODOT that outlines the conditions of the funding is included as attachment 2. This project will include construction of improvements to the bridge. The improvements will be made to the original bridge structure that was constructed in the 1940s. Soil has washed away around the foundation. There's retaining walls and footings, and it makes the structure more susceptible to cracking. The proposed improvements that would be constructed with this funding will address the scour and repair the cracks in the bridge's foundation. There is a newer pedestrian bridge, 2 bridges located on either side of the main bridge. They are in good condition. These pedestrian bridges were constructed in 1999 when Salem Avenue was reconstructed as part of the bond projects. If council provides authorization for this resolution, then ODOT would provide up to $738,000 in funding. The local bridge program does require a 10.27% local match, and that's estimated to be approximately $84,000. There are adequate funds in the Street Capital and Restoration Fund to cover this local match. Are there any questions?
Councilors? Any questions, council? Is there a motion?
I move to accept the resolution accepting local bridge program funding from the Oregon Department of Transportation.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Who's that?
Second, Smith.
Councilor Smith, thank you very much for that. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to make a comment that it was very interesting to me to see the bids, where they all came from. I mean, they were way out of state, and I'm thinking,
Nevada and everything, yeah.
the lowest bid is sort of out, I mean, do they rent stuff up here or do they drive it up here? I mean, I don't know how they do it, but it's a good bid, so I'm glad, but I was surprised that there was only one in Oregon that would actually bid for it. So,
You know, I think Councilor Smith Johnson, I think one of the things is the economy right now, people want their people to work. And
yes,
so there's some people are, you know, probably taking less because they want their employees to work.
that is
So,
true.
you know, I know businesses that have the staff is taking 80% of their annual salary, so other people can work. So it's probably some of that going on as well.
Yeah. That's very
Award of a contract, ST-21-05, 2021 slurry seal. Andrew Monaco is going to speak to that. I don't know Andrew, but I'd love to meet you. So, Andrew.
Evening, councilors. I'm Andrew Monaco, engineering associate with the department. On January 26th, 5 bids were open for project ST-2105, 2021 slurry seals. The low bidder was Intermountain Slurry Seal for Nevada. Staff is recommending council award the contract as well as a change order to increase the scope of the project. We received great bids for this project, well under the budget of $200,000, which is why we're asking council to approve a change order that will add the streets shown as dashed lines on attachment 2 of the memo. Slurry seals are a thin surface treatment that seals small cracks and restores the pavement surface. It's most effective when applied to residential streets that are in fairly good condition. The original scope of this project included application of slurry seal to approximately 52,500 square yards of streets in the Lexington neighborhood. Approving the contract plus the change order will add an additional 37,000 square yards of streets in this neighborhood. Staff recommends council award a contract in the amount of $105,622 and also authorize a change order that will increase the contract in the amount of $70,802 to Intermountain Slurry Seal of Sparks, Nevada for construction of the slurry seal project. Any questions?
Yes, Andrew. Have we ever worked with this firm out of Sparks, Nevada before? Do they have any track record that you're aware of?
So I have only been with the city for a couple of years now, but I do know that this company has been around for a long time doing these types of projects. Yes.
Thank you.
So did you have an opportunity to get references or look at what their previous work looked like?
I have not. We did not take references for this project. Stacy, do you know if they've ever done projects for us in the past?
Mayor and councilors, I know that this contracting firm has bid on, so the city slurry seal program, the most recent work was done in 2009. And I know that this contractor has been around at least since then. They were on the bid tab sheet back in 2009. We don't get references for all of our contractors, but we do check to make sure that they're licensed and bonded and don't have any lawsuits or claims against them. And so this company did clear.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it, Stacey. Any other councilors have any questions? Any comments?
I have a comment, Mayor Johnson. I just wanted to let people know that people who are concerned about where the money comes from for doing slurry seal, as Stacy pointed out, this is the first time we've been able to do this since 2009. It's a very effective way of keeping good streets in good condition, but there hasn't been the money to scrape together until now. And for those who think that their property taxes are paying for this, they are not. There are no property taxes in this pot of money to pay for this work.
Thank you for that, Councilor Smith.
You're welcome.
So is there a motion?
I'd move to award the contract.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So the board approved. Next thing on the agenda is I'm getting to the agenda. I gotta get back several pages. Adoption of the consent agenda.
Peter has a,
Oh, Peter, you have something? Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like you to consider pulling item B from the consent agenda. We have erroneously let that onto the agenda for tonight. That should be done by the ARA at their next meeting.
I agree. We don't have to vote on that, do we?
No,
No, we don't. Okay, so I recommend I support the city manager's statement about pulling that off, and he's right. I just missed it this morning.
Okay. Does ERA usually, do we ratify the appointments to the CARA advisory board? I thought the council did all of them. I mean, we are that anyway, but I just wondered.
We do it at that, I believe we do it at that meeting.
Interesting. Okay. Well, then I would move to accept the adoption of the consent agenda, spit that out, minus Article B.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much. Staff reports is next up on the motion pass, excuse me. State staff reports, temporary extension of contracts for financial advisory services, and that's Director Yeager.
good evening, Mayor and Council. We would like to extend our contract with Piper Sandler until December for a year. We will be going out for an RFP for these municipal advisory services in December. There's a project that they have currently been discussing with us and about a potential refinancing. And we would like to continue our work with them instead of duplicating that work with a different company. So again, we're just asking for a year extension, which council is authorized to do. And again, we will be going out for an RFP in December.
Council, any questions or any comments for Director Yeager? Nothing?
I would move to extend the contract as requested.
Is there a second? Oh,
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passed.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Director Yeager.
Thank you.
So business from the council. Councilors? Councilor Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, it wasn't on the agenda or anything, and I don't know if it's going to be in the future, but as chairman of the audit committee, we met and virtually, and the audit went very well. There were no extenuating circumstances. Any issues from the past had been corrected this year, so there was nothing there. We have, trying to read here, sorry, can't read my own writing. Strong internal controls, which is to me very important. So there was nothing to report there. And it says here the COVID funds passed the audit, so there were no problems with that. And let's see. Basically, it was a very good audit, and I think we were all pleased with it. Then they discussed the transient room tax. We discussed after that the transient room tax, and they audited 4 hotels, and they're all up to date. We have 12 hotels in all, and everything is fine. It may be that the state takes over the transient room tax collection. We're not sure of that yet, but I wanted to make sure that I got the audit report in this year, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Johnson. Any other councilor? Councilor Gutsinski, I think you chimed in earlier. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a procedural question. We were advised as we were starting out with the new Zoom meetings that we would use the raise your hand for acknowledgement. And that hasn't been happening. I've raised it a couple times and Peter did too. And everybody's still reverting to their fingers and stuff. So however we want to do it, it doesn't matter. We'll make it consistent at least.
This
I
is
thank you for
Bessie.
that,
I
Councilor
don't,
Cox.
I
I've
don't
been guilty.
have that.
Yeah, some folks don't have it on their screen.
Uh-uh.
That's the problem.
If you look under the participants list, it's in the menu down at the bottom,
Son of a
which is
gun,
a
I
weird
see it.
place to put it, but it's there.
Can you see my
There
hand
we go.
raised
I
right
see
now?
it now. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Marilyn.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Marilyn.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm
And
I
not
I-
as
learned
smart as
something
I
new.
look.
I'm good.
So I see two hands now. I see, okay, everybody's pushing the button. All right, you're gonna blind me doing this. All right, here we go. Anybody else have a question? Counselor Bartholomew, you have anything?
Not at this time.
Counselor, thank you very much. Counselor Smith,
No, thanks.
thank you, Ray, for teaching us a lesson.
Yes.
Counselor Novak
No, thank you.
and Counselor Olson.
No, I think my regular hand is a lot more apparent than that little tiny hand. to the left hand corner. So if you don't mind, I'm going to still give you a real hand.
Talk to the hand.
Did you have anything for us tonight?
No. I
Okay.
don't.
I had a few things. I know we talked about looking at some of the citizen advisory groups about seeing which ones we can merge to free up staff time. I want to find out where that was, if that process has started. And then I wanted to do a moment of silence for Commissioner John Lindsay passed Tuesday morning. I did reach out to the governor's office and we have tacit approval to city flags to half mast. And as soon as that official document comes in, I'll forward it off to the city manager and he'll have that in his possession to make that order. So quick update on the Human Relations Commission. I've interviewed 4 of the 13 people that have applied that are still haven't been interviewed. I have 9 more to do before the meeting coming up on the 22nd. We received a request from West Albany High School seniors for a prom somewhere downtown or a venue that they're going to propose. And so we'll be looking for that to come down the pipe. And then we had I received a wonderful letter from a 4th grader named Sammy. And he talked about homelessness in Oregon and Albany and how she's concerned about it. And she'd like to help if she could. And so it's pretty exciting getting a letter from a young person in the city that cares about the city and her city. And she's going to hold us accountable to that. So I really appreciate that letter. And then I don't know if you saw in the paper, I went and visited with Cookie Johnson over in Corrales. And she was the one that has been feeding people since the pandemic started and also the wildfires, evacuees at Pioneer Park in Corrales. And the former mayor, Eric Neiman, set up a GoFundMe page to give her a vacation. And we went there and presented some flowers to her, had a really good talk with her and thanks for her service to people from Benton County and Lynn County. And her GoFundMe page went from $2,500 to over $7,800 overnight.
Very
So
good.
she'll hopefully get a chance to take her and her husband on vacation because she's been providing great service. And there's people all over this community doing great things, great work. And we need to spend some time to recognize those folks.
Yeah, 2 days later, it was at $7,700. I don't know what it is now.
It's high. It went up.
That's good.
So any other business from the council? Because we have to we're going to recess to an executive session to discuss current litigation or litigation likely to be filed in accordance with ORS 192.660 subparentheses 2.h. I'm going to read this. I have to read a script to you. Let me find it. There it is.
Mayor,
Yes.
before you do that, may I ask you, would the council like us to pursue that citizen advisory group consolidation study? Is that tasking from you all? Just to be
Yes.
clear.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you very much for that, Peter.
Okay.
So we have thumbs up from everyone?
May I add something, Mayor, on
Yes,
that
please.
topic?
Please,
The
Councilor.
city of Corvallis has gone through that exercise in the last year and a half, and I believe they're just about ready to roll out their changes, and they could have some very valuable advice for us. I got that information from Patrick Rollins, who's the public information officer for the city. He's been involved in that effort, so he might be a good one to contact to
Well,
find
thank
out
you for
how
that.
they've done it.
Thank
They
you,
had some of
Councilman
the.
Smith.
You're welcome.
Mayor, since you let me have a word, maybe I could have
Please.
a few more.
Please.
Just note that today Benton County went from extreme risk to high risk, which we're really happy to see. And then the executive leadership team here will test out the council chamber's ability to have a hybrid meeting on March 24th. And if all goes well, then we're looking at the first council hybrid meeting on April 12th. And there'll be more on that to follow. Okay.
Thank you very much, Bree. That's good news. Thank you very much. I'm zoomed out, really, seriously, zoomed out. Councilor Olson, do you have anything?
Well, I was just wondering if we're going to hear from the city manager, and sounds like we have. Looks
Well,
like we have.
Before
And maybe
we- Before we end the meeting, I'll ask him to go ahead and give another update. So we have to recess the executive session to discuss current litigation and litigation likely to be filed in accordance with RS 192.660. And I'm going to read this statement. The city council will now meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing litigation. Representatives of the news media and designated staff and other persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other participants will be moved into a waiting room, or you can leave and rejoin the meeting in a few minutes. Your screen will display a message. Please wait. The meeting will let you in soon. When the council returns to open session, participants remaining in the waiting room will be readmitted to the meeting. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any other deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions will be made in the executive sessions. I now recess the executive session at the time of 6:49 p.m.
you.
Okay, I think we're
Is that everyone?
ready to go.
I will now reconvene the regular session time at 7:24 p.m. East Pacific Standard Time. Are there any motions? So, City Manager, you have a report for us this evening?
Yeah. Were you gonna make a decision as far as a budget?
Council, would you like to make a motion on the budget?
Peter, they don't need to because it'll just appear in the budget and it'll be discussed as part of the budget process. Are you talking about the executive session item?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the only other thing I have is Mr. Mayor, is to let you know that the AMPO and CAMPO policy boards met this afternoon and they supported staff moving forward with a transportation and growth management grant to examine long-term population and job growth in the Highway 20 region and to explore various solutions to addressing regional congestion and capacity issues. So that was Councilor Kopczynski was there as well.
Excellent.
And, we're quite happy to see that that decision.
They also had discussions along bike ped path processes, how many people were pedestrians versus bicyclists over the 8-week winter months. They're going to be expanding that analysis to spring, summer with more counting stations to see how that evolves. Possibly COVID might have made some impacts on that or not, but they don't know. But it's just going to help them do some more analysis.
Well, I imagine the parks have gotten a lot more use, and so the paths. I've seen a lot of people out over the last year, walking their dogs, walking as a family unit. So yeah, I imagine there's been some impact on that. So I think we're done. The end of the next meeting dates is Monday, March 22nd, 2021 at 4 p.m. for the work session. Wednesday, March 24th, 2021 at 6 p.m. for the regular meeting. And with that, thank you all for coming this evening. Go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Oh,
Thank you.
No, I'm just waving goodbye.
Oh, just waving bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.